Today I wanted to take an opportunity and talk a little bit about travel photography. It's something I haven't brought up on the channel a whole lot, but it's something that I'm always doing when I'm traveling all across the world and across the United States. So today we'll go ahead and dive into a little bit about the camera I'm using, the lenses I'm using, and the editing styles. Now on this trip I ended up bringing my Canon 90D along with my Sigma 28-70 lens. It's an f-stop of 2.8 to 5.6, although ideally I would have loved to bring a Canon or a Sigma 16 to 35. It allows more versatility for a wider range of photos, but I was trying to keep my bag overall really light. I also ended up bringing the MeFoto travel tripod. I can't recommend it enough because of the size and compactness and the lightweight portability. So let's go ahead and jump to the computer. I'll talk a little bit about my editing styles and how I edit my photos. All right, now that we're back at the computer, I just want to bring up Lightroom and show you a little bit about how I edit, how I categorize my photos, and then ultimately take you through those steps leading to one final complete photo. So let's go ahead and jump into Lightroom here. You'll immediately see that I am brought up to a blurry photo, but for now, let's not focus on that. Let's go ahead and jump over to here. So I have Personal Chicago, which is all of my photos within that subfolder. So all of these are different subfolders. This is going to group all those folders. This is just my naming convention that I use. It's just something I've been using for several years. It really sticks. So we're going to go into cell phone photos. This is where I was. This first shot's not something ideal, so we don't want to mark it for editing or do anything with it. But the next photo, okay, it's getting better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each photo and ultimately decide whether I want to keep the photo or not, or what do I want to do. So I'm going to go back to this photo right here. It's the first one I really liked. So I'm just going to go ahead and press P on my keyboard, and you'll see that it marks it as a flag as pick. Overall, long term, I'm going to go through all the photos in these folders and I'm going to mark them as pick or not pick. And if you accidentally make a mistake, you can just select U and it will unflag that photo. So I'm going to just go ahead and select P again. And then once I'm done selecting and editing and sorting all my photos, then I can go ahead and go over to filters here. Let me show you real quick. Filters, and I can go to flagged, and it will sort all my flagged photos. So it just gives you an idea of where I'm at. Once I'm done doing all these photos, I'll bring you back in and show you some of the final photos and how I bring them into Photoshop and then ultimately composite them together. Now that I've already gone ahead and selected the photos I ultimately want to edit, I'm going to go through and select different ones that I want to fine-tune or refine in either Lightroom or in Photoshop. In this case, we'll be working with Photoshop, and I've already gone ahead and selected a few photos. Let's go ahead and jump into Lightroom here. First off, it's a great photo of the Chicago skyline, and we will go ahead and see that I've selected this photo and this photo. You'll see that I have two great photos here, and I've also selected them as red. And I've indicated that because for me, red indicates bad, and it means I need to edit it farther in Photoshop. So it's just my system of doing that. If you ever need to edit or categorize your photo farther, you can just right click and do set rating, and you can give it a 5-star, 4-star, etc. Or you can set a color label to the photo just for categorization internally. So what I want to do is I want to export these photos and get them ready for Photoshop. I can either click on both these photos and I can go right click and go export, and I can go and select to export these as PSD files or JPEG files. Either will work for this case. Or I can go ahead and right click on both these files and select edit in Adobe Photoshop 2021. So I've already gone ahead and done that. Let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. All right, now I've gone ahead and opened up Photoshop and I've brought in both of my photos here. You'll see them both moving around. You have layer 1 and layer 0 here. And the layer 1 you'll see is immediately going to be super focused up here, and you have the train going away from me. And then with layer 0, you'll see the background is rather blurred, but the train is coming toward me. So all I really want from this image is going to be the train coming toward me to better combine those two. So what I want to do is I want to stack the first one, which is on top, going to be the more focused one, and I want to try to get these both aligned, but that's really hard to do myself. So Photoshop thankfully does a great job. So I'm going to select both these layers, holding down Control, and I'm going to go to Edit and Auto Align Layers. I'm then going to go ahead and select Auto, and I'm going to click OK. Photoshop will go ahead and combine these two layers together and make it auto aligned just about perfectly. So we'll go ahead and wait for that. And now I'll be able to go ahead and select, and you'll immediately see that it's rather aligned pretty well. And the only thing you'll notice is starting to see that background starting to switch in between blurred and unblurred as I toggle this on and off switch. So we're going to go ahead and go in here, and next we're going to go into adding a layer mask. Let me share you my full screen here. We're going to go into add a layer mask on top of layer 1. And what I like to do is I like to add the polygon lasso tool. And I just like to go ahead and select a rough idea of where this train was, because ultimately that's the image that I need. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that either black or white, it's going to be white, is showing, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that out. You'll immediately see the white train comes back in, or the white streaks come back in, and then I can go ahead and deselect. Now you'll notice that this is a rough edge outline, but what I can do is I can go in here, and you'll see again, it's a really sharp edge. So what I'll go is I'll go in with a brush tool, and I can go ahead and just paint back in, I want to paint back in black, not white. I want to paint back in just black and go ever so slightly just to smooth out those edges and really make it a fine-tooth, seamless transition between the two. So you can do that same thing. Now if you overstep, you can just do Edit, Undo, and it will automatically fill that back in. Ultimately, when it comes to precision adjustments like this, I highly recommend a Wacom Intuos Pro tablet. It's about $100 to $150, upwards of $250 tablet, but it's a great investment, and it's got this stylus which you can really use as a pinpoint precision to draw out what you need and what you want to remove or add in at this point. Now let's go ahead and zoom out real quick. And I've already gone ahead and taken the liberty of making this the final image. Let's go ahead and turn those back on. You'll immediately see this is our starting image or our base image, showing the train coming toward us, but everything else background blurred. And then I've now gone ahead and added everything in sharp with the train going away from us. Now you'll see the layer mask here, and if I disable this layer mask, you'll immediately see the train goes away, and if I click back on, you'll see it come back in. So it just gives you an idea of how this goes, and then ultimately you can go ahead and zoom in and crop this just ever so slightly to make it worth your while and what you want to ultimately show. Well, I hope you've learned something educational in this video. If not, some takeaways from Lightroom or in Photoshop, and understood the process that I take for getting my photos from the camera all the way through to post-processing. There's a lot of videos coming up, especially with South Africa for our honeymoon, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.